children. You know that they're lethal. Let's give the cops such a mess.
Hello, guys. This is Tuesday. Take over the Joe the Bull page, and my name is Nicole C. Loves Recovery, and I got my beautiful live host, Jenn, Zach's wife, AK. Anyway, and tonight we are talking about something very sensitive, actually, so I should not. And we're talking about domestic violence and like statistics and facts, and we'll be asking comments if anyone like wants to share anything or questions they might have. We'll be answering them as well. So I'm going to actually just start off with a little bit. There is a national hotline number that you can reach if you are experiencing or you know somebody that might be experiencing it. I do have that number. I could probably try to put it in the comments, or maybe somebody else could.
I'll put it in the comments when you read it off.
Okay, so the number is 1-800-799-7233. And there's also a text number that you can also text at, and that number is 88788. And those are the national hotlines for domestic violence. The definition of domestic violence. Domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior toward an intimate partner in a dating or family relationship where the abuser exerts power and control over victim. It can be mental, physical, economic, or in nature. Women experience domestic violence at a higher rate than men. 3 in 1 women will experience DV. And in 1 in 10 men, they will experience physical violence and or stalking by a partner. And these were statistics of March of 2023. The 3 R's for stopping domestic violence are recognize, respond, and refer. And if you've been affected by DV, first step is find someone safe to stay. Stay in your home and get the person harming you to leave by calling the police. Report the violence, get a court order, or take legal action, or get help from a charity or organization. So there's a lot of organizations out there that will help you if you're experiencing or know somebody that is experiencing DV.
And when those people, and when you reach out to those certain networks and charities, a lot of times they will help you get out of that situation safely, so it's not such a transition for you and not so hard for some women experiencing it.
Right. I personally experienced DV, not physical, but it's emotional, mental, and it's just as bad. I never had to like use one of those organizations, but I was very aware of them, and there's a lot in this area, and there's probably a lot in everyone's area. And if you do know someone or you've been affected, you should definitely reach out for sure. The difference between violence and abuse. Violence refers to one-off acts, while abuse usually refers to a prolonged pattern. So like usually with violence, like it's usually like a one-time thing, you get in a fight. Yeah, you snap. It's, end thing. Abuse is when it continuously happens for a prolonged time period. And it's usually when one person tries to control another. And there is 4 stages of abuse. The 4 stages are tension building stage, which is stress and strain. It begins with a couple, and it's right before the abuse. Incident of abuse stage is active violence. There's recognition stage. That's the honeymoon stage where everything's perfect. Oh, I love you. I'm going to buy you a new car. I'm going to go get you a ring. Or, it's a few good days or a few good weeks or even a few good months. But then you're back to the explosion stage where they explode on you again. And that's pretty much end game. But usually 1 in 7 women, it takes a woman 7 times to leave her abuser. Or
sometimes it takes more. Yeah, my mom was in a domestic violence relationship for 18 years. So sometimes it takes a lot for those people. And a lot of times a domestic violence victim won't reach out because a lot of times they feel like they've done something to deserve the treatment that they're getting.
Right.
So it's that mental breakdown that the abuse factor of that comes into play, in my opinion.
No, for sure, for sure, for sure. 90% of people who commit violent physical assaults is men. Males perpetrate 95% of all serious domestic violence. That is statistic, but like men are affected just as much. I mean, maybe not as much. The women are usually the prey, but men are also affected. So I don't want our men.
Yeah, we don't want any men to feel like they're not being included in this, because like I said, there are a lot, and so is Nicole, there are a lot of domestic violence cases against men. I don't think as many are reported, possibly, as women. Maybe that's why the statistic is a little bit lower.
Right. A physical type of an abuser is usually somebody that has low self-esteem, has like narcissism, where like they think they're better than everyone, their shoes don't stink kind of thing, and then they usually have a lack of empathy. That's usually a personality type of an abuser. Key signs that you are in a toxic relationship: feeling drained instead of being uplifted, frequent disrespect or verbal abuse, persistent imbalance of power, where your needs and feelings are being sidelined, like you're not being taken care of emotionally, mentally, physically. So that is key signs of being that you are.
I also think maybe walking on eggshells, feeling that you have an uneasy feeling and you have to watch your every guarded step. I think that's also a good sign that we could even add to that list.
Right, definitely. Causes of aggression include instinct, hormonal imbalance, genetics, temperament, nurture, or stress. And then common risk factors are history of violence or abuse within the family, individuals who have witnessed or experienced violence during the upbringing. So when they're growing up as a child, they're either seeing their dad abuse their mom, or their mom abuse, or the mom is abusing the children, or the dad's abusing, or something similar in your childhood with like close people in the home. It may be more likely to engage in abusive behavior, become victims themselves. Additionally, power imbalances and control issues within relationships. So sometimes somebody can lose it just for like not feeling in control. When there's power imbalances, when they feel like their power has been taken away, sometimes they might become an abuser. When they have control issues, when they feel like they're not getting their word across, like, no, you can't do that, but you're still doing it. Now I feel like they've lost control, so they might turn into an abuser. Not saying that everybody does this, but this is just, most, I guess. Within a relation that contribute to when one partner seeks to exert dominance or control over the other, it creates an environment conducive to abusive behavior. So just again, if they're trying to get control. Also, substance abuse can also play a factor in DV. Alcohol or drug addiction is another risk associated with domestic violence. I'm not going to really go deep into that, but that is a part of another risk factor of possibly, like, your partner is an addict, or they're, they drink, they abuse their, alcohol, they abuse their pill, whatever, and that could also cause possible abuse to happen. The other alternative risks for DV is social and economic factors such as unemployment, financial stress, and social isolation. These factors can increase tension and strain within a relationship and potentially leading to abusive dynamics. So those things can lead to that. And then you said you looked a little bit about employment.
Yes. But I do want to, before we move on, I do want to
Yes.
touch on, we did have a comment from G. Morton, who asked, why would someone stay in that type of relationship? And I will say, Chris, that was an amazing answer. And you are very right. A lot of times when a person is experiencing DV, it is very hard for them to know their worth once they've been brought down to a point where there's the emotional abuse, there's the physical, there's the mental, there's all sorts of aspects of it. And a lot of times they do say that domestic violence relationships the whoever the aggressor is against the aggressee, they tend to form like almost a trauma bond, and it's really hard for the abused to get out of that situation.
And sometimes both could be the abuser as well.
Correct. I believe that does have, there can be both sides of the abuse. What I want to touch on just for a few seconds, guys, if you could bear with me, there are 10 professions that do have the highest rate of domestic violence. And I'm not going to go into detail about any of them. I'm just going to go over a broad subject of what they are. The first or number, I'm going to start at the least and then go to the greatest. So number 10 would be NHL players, National Hockey League players. They tend to have DV cases because of they have like such that dominance presence on that ice, and it's hard for them to break that wall that they have of who they have to be on the ice as to what kind of person they come home to be. Just real quickly, the next one that we have are NFL athletes. A lot of this, they also contribute to a condition called CTE from having too many concussions and things of that nature. Number 8 is MMA fighters. A lot of times they can't separate that mentality from the MMA fights to their home lives. Number 7, customer service workers. Now, this one kind of surprised me a little bit, but it also says that customer service workers are dominantly women, like cashiers, things like that, are predominantly women. And they say that it's 47% higher for a woman to have that manager position in these things. So they're basically saying it's an easy target because they're a people pleaser type of personality. The next one that I have is textile workers. So textile workers, this is more not in the United States, I would say. It's more like a European thing. And it's just because the women earn less than the man, they're often targeted for the domestic. Number 4 is nurses. Nurses are about 43.3% of workplace domestic violence cases. And they say that that's also because of their caring, nurturing capability. They're easy to. Our soldiers, unfortunately, suffer. Number 3 on our list. Our soldiers, men and women soldiers, suffer a lot of domestic violence cases. And a lot of times it's because they're not given the right mental health treatment when they come home, and they don't know how to deal with things. They have conditions such as PTSD and things like that, which make them more likely to not be able to engage and handle their feelings like a regular person would. Corrections officers is number 2. It also plays on a power persona, and about 33.7% of domestic violence cases are reported within the occupation of corrections officers. Now, the number 1 profession with the highest rate of domestic violence is police officers. Police officers have to see the domestic violence, they have to respond to it, and then they have to be able to detach and come home and not let those intrusive thoughts come in. So this is where I say we need to push more for mental help for these professions. Make something available to them to where they have an outlet to go talk to somebody when stuff like this may come up, or they have dealt with or seen things like this. So those were my statistics. If anyone has any questions, I'll look through the chat. I'm not sure I missed anything. All right, you're up, Nicole.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of go off statistics as well. She did the employment, and I'm just gonna do a generalizing of TV statistics and all. And this was updated last on October 28th, 2024. So it's supposedly updated. I got it on the national DV website. Okay. In U.S. alone, United States alone, 1 in 2 women and more than 2 in 1. Wait, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. 1 in 2 women and more than 2 in 5 men reported experience intimate partner violence at some point in their lifetime. So at some point in their lifetime, no matter what time in it, they've experienced 1 in 2 women. So me and Jen, so one of us has experienced this. Like, doesn't that, like, that just blows my mind. Like, so, and it's true. I mean, I don't know about her, but I've experienced DV. Yes, not physical, but it was mentally, emotional, and that stuff. But like, it's just crazy that 1 in 2, and then for all our men watchers, 2 in 5 men have also experienced abuse sometime in their lifetime. Like, that just blows my mind. And then every minute, 32 people experience intimate partner violence in U.S. Every minute, every 60 seconds, guys, someone
Think
is
about this.
experiencing domestic violence.
It's mind-blowing. Just sit down and think about it, chat. We'll go from, it's 12:46. Let's go from 12:46 to 12:47, Nicole, and we'll prove in that 1 minute.
32 women are being abused. Or
and
men.
Lord knows how many men
it doesn't
that
really
aren't
generalize
saying
if it was
anything.
man or woman.
Yeah.
It's just 32 people. I mean, we're
There we
talking
go.
any from all adult, like 20, 30s, 40s, even women in their 50s, 60s, 70s. I know women that are older have also experienced DV. It doesn't matter. I mean, it affects at any age. That's never been a thing.
I'm gonna pull this comment. Chris, I did, when I was doing this research, I found that very interesting as well, that through the correlation of the professions, most professions that are likely to suffer from some sort of post-traumatic stress syndrome are the ones that are resulting in the higher statistics for the domestic violence.
Wow.
Morton, let me touch. I don't know the statistics on it. Maybe Nicole and I can get together and we can do a part 2 of this sometime. But I grew up in a domestic violence home, and it is very, very traumatizing for the children. It's very hard to distinguish once you get older what's right and wrong, because you've watched these learned behaviors over your lifetime. So, like, I'm one of them parents who, like, I'm not gonna whip my kids' butts. I'm not that person, just because of what I watched my mom, my brothers, and myself go through living in a domestic violence home.
Yeah, that I can't imagine what that was like growing up. I mean, just any toxic relation. Yeah, that must have been hard, Jen. Sorry.
It's okay. I believe it makes me who I am today. It makes me stronger for who I am today.
right? And I don't know if anyone wants to comment on this in the chat, but I don't know, has anyone in the chat been affected? I mean, if you don't want to share, you don't have to, but or know somebody personally close to you that has been affected by DV. If you don't feel comfortable talking, then we understand, but if it's open if you want to, or just let us know. I'm going to keep on going on with the statistics, but
Yeah.
if you guys want to share, just let us know. Over 47% women encountered contact physical violence or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. So almost 50% of the, I think it's in the United States. I think most of these statistics are for just the United States, but
Yeah.
47% of women experience either being stalked or abused somewhat in their life. That's half of the women. Like, just crazy. Another statistic was almost 40 million women reported being slapped, pushed, or shoved. Maybe they're not getting punched, but they're getting pushed and they're getting shoved into doors and
Which
floor.
to me, the same. It's the same. It's
Yeah.
it's still domestic
Still
violence,
DV,
whether or
guys.
not.
Don't think that if it's pushing or he's talking to you like, or she's talking to you like a dog. I don't want our men to. I mean, this is you guys too. It doesn't matter. Physical, mental, all of it's DV, guys. DV for sure. And how common is DV? More than 16 million people in the U.S. will suffer from intimate abuse, an intimate partner abuse every year. 16 million every year. So for 2024, this year's almost 16 million. 2023, what is going on? Why are we doing like this? Is
Yeah.
just
What is causing this? Maybe we need to do some research and try to get these people help. Maybe there's something that is being overlooked. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
these numbers are just absolutely mind-blowing to me. The amount of cases and
Imagine all the cases that are not being reported. Like
that's
there's
and
got to
yeah,
be some women are scared. Some men are
and most
scared.
men are embarrassed.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, can you imagine how many reports are not being reported? And then they said more than 16 million, but they also said 85% of that was females.
Right.
So 15 of it being men. And then by 2019, nearly 4 women were murdered. Yeah, they were, yeah, daily by their intimate partners. So, yeah, so nearly 4 women. Yeah, that just blows my mind.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so the reason we chose to talk about this topic today, this month, is because October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And this first began in 1981. That was the very first time that they were like decided, okay, we're going to make October Domestic Violence Month. Yes, I believe it's also Military Month as well, but it is also domestic.
It's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month too.
Oh, breast cancer awareness. There you go. So, I mean, there's a few different things this month, but it is really well known that October being DV Awareness Month.
Right. And it's what did you say? It's the
I agree,
or the third Thursday in October?
Oh, yes. So anyway, so then the Violence Against Women Act was passed. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll wait to do it. So anyway, so every year October is for domestic violence. So every third Thursday of October every year, it is Go Purple Day. And people all over the world, United States, they wear purple to support show their support for survivors of domestic violence. So they had it this year already. It was on October 17th, 2024, and people wore purple. You could probably wear purple a lot, but that was the day that they call it the Purple Day for DV. It's the third Thursday. So if you want to kind of remember that, maybe you can show your support next month. But you can always wear purple any day. For Domestic Violence Awareness Month for this year, The project is proud to be built on the theme Heal, Hold, and Center. So I guess they come up with a theme every year, and the theme this year for 2024 was Heal, Hold, and Center. And then also the first act that was ever made against DV was made in 1994. So imagine how many years there wasn't an act, but the first act was made in 1994. And this is interesting. I don't want to really get into politics, but we talk. But anyway, the landmark registration was led by Joe Biden, our president. And it was combined with new provisions that hold offenders accountable and provide programs and services for the victims. So there really wasn't even any services for victims of DV for 1994. Like, could you imagine all those women that or men that suffered in DV relationships without the support of a charity or an organization, or the act that they go to the police station and the guy oh, we can't do anything, and there's no law against you hitting your wife or you slapping your husband.
Right.
Nothing
And
until
a lot of
1994.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
that
a
seems like a
lot of
long time
that
ago because it's 2024, but really it's not, guys. Almost all of the 19th century there was no act.
and that's where I can come in with the little bit of experience with growing up with domestic violence in my home. Before this was made something, it was made domestic violence, it was made, an issue. I couldn't tell you how many times the cops were at my house and just asked my parents to, hey, do you think you guys can just get along for the rest of the night? Like, and 9 times out of 10, I'm here to tell you that doesn't work.
I'm gonna tell, this is not against a partner, but me and my sister had an incident. It was abuse related, and the police were there right away, and I was arrested. Like, cause the abuse is they don't like the law. I'm so happy that they take it more serious today. And this happened when I was in active addiction, guys. I mean, that was a long time ago. I would have never been like that. But there was this. I mean, yeah, and there was violence against my sister, and it was in a household, and it was a bad situation. And I guess that was more of a violence than abuse because I have never done it ever again. So I guess there's the definition between violence and abuse. Like, I was violent toward my sister and I was wrong for doing that. But of course I'm not an abusive person, but that's just a little bit about how the law does really take serious in violence and situations like that.
All right, G. Morton, we're going to address your question. You asked, what are some of the signs of someone going through it? I'm sure they hide it well. I'll start if Nicole doesn't mind. A lot of times, if you're around a group of people where they're a person or a family member, like in my situation, me, my brothers, and my mom all experienced the domestic violence together. You'll notice that there's almost like a control factor of when you're in a social setting of what you can say, what you can't say, how you are to look at people, how you are not to look at people. I was taught to only speak when spoken to. There was never, there was always the rule. If a police officer comes, if CPS comes, if this person comes, this is your story. This is A, B, C, and D of what you're going to say if people like this come into that situation. So I would say sometimes, like, you're going to find more quiet people or people that tend to follow in a group more than a leader, or you're going to find that people that have experienced DV or stuff like that, they have a very soft-hearted nature. So they're taken advantage of very easily. They're very gullible, because a lot of people in DV situations, in my personal, this is no one else's, my personal is, I wanted to be that person that pleased everybody because I saw what not pleasing people would do in my household growing up.
No, that's exactly how people are that are being abused. Yeah. prime example. And that those are also children, like what they're going through when they're seeing one of their parents being, I mean, it's not just the children are the victim. I mean, I don't want to go too much into that, but yeah, I mean, everyone suffers from DV, not just the actual victim itself, but if there's children involved, it's hard too.
Sometimes, Morton, it is very hard for someone on the outside to report or help someone in a DV situation, because like you said, it can make things worse, but it can also put this, like, my mom called it a paralyzing fear to leave my dad. And she also used us kids as an excuse. Well, I have to stay with him because he's your dad. I have to do this. I have to.
Right, like, right. A lot of women will stay because of the kids, or they'll stay because of finances, right? Or they'll stay because they're scared of what will they do without that person. Like in my DV situations, like I was always like either the like with the kid's dad, like he was mentally and like emotionally abusive, and it would trigger like a response in me. And then of course in our situation there was drugs and alcohol involved, so that just made it a whole lot worse. And then the other experience that I had, I think the reason I stay or stay, I don't want to say if it's present or not, but it's probably because I'm scared of what will be without that person. Like, even though that person is bad to me and toxic, and I'm too scared of like what will happen afterwards. Like, if I leave, what will you do? Or how will me and my kids survive? Or how will I survive? Because in this new, I would say it's more a financial situation or whatever kind of case.
There's hundreds and hundreds. I'm sure that we could sit here for a whole hour, just go through different reasons on why people stay in a domestic violence relationship.
Exactly. I agree. Okay. Also a little bit of Oh yeah, so I don't know, Jen. I feel like victims like tend not to try to get other people involved, only for the fact they think that it's either going to be a lot worse for them, right?
Yes.
Or worse for their person that's trying to get involved. Like, they're scared for what will happen to that person that's helping. Is that what he's saying?
Yes, I think yes.
Okay.
And a lot of times that is a hard part, because if you are someone on the outside and you're looking in and you see it and you're like, I have to do something, sometimes it's really hard to be that person that does something, because you're afraid of what could happen to the person in the situation.
Right. And I even hate to say this, but I actually have a friend that is actually currently being abused, is currently in an abusive relationship, and she has children involved, and she was just here not that long ago with a black guy, and it's really hard and she's called the police so many times, and he's removed, but then she allows him right back into her household, and then he abuses her again. And I guess this last time, it just happened the other day, he tried to go after the son, and then she had to call the police again. Like, so it's a very scary situation in DV cases, I believe. And I think a lot of times when people do finally escape, it's like a secretive kind of thing. Like, they take off either when that person's at work or away, or they don't take anything with them. They leave everything behind. And I when my sister was alive, her boyfriend was being abusive, and yes, there was drugs and alcohol involved, but at the same time, she was staying at a battered shelter, and they try to get them out really quick, and then they hide. Like, they go to these like little houses that are like hidden, like from the world, not really hidden, but like you don't know they're a DV house or whatever shelter.
You're absolutely right, because we went through a lot of different channels, and there was a lot of very secretive stuff. Like, I couldn't tell my grandmother certain things because she was my dad's mother. Like, and I had to keep a lot of things secretive when my mom finally was able to get that courage to leave her domestic violence situation. But her kids, we were all basically grown. So I think we kind of pushed her to that point too. Like, you don't need this, you don't deserve this. And it was a pack up in the middle of the night and we're gone before he wakes up situation.
Now, how is your, like, now the future with her not being with it? Is the dad still a part of, like that was the thing that has been hard for my friend, because she still wants the guy to be a part of the son's life, and this is the first time he's ever went after the boy, but I don't know, like, are you still a part of your dad's life? Or is there any communication between,
Um,
like, is the future better
after
now?
after my parents split up, there was a lot of back and forth negativity, like using us kids as pawns back and forth. Now, um, unfortunately, my dad did pass in 2016 due to his addictions and him having cancer. So, but there was no after they split, there was no civil part of either one of them. They couldn't be in the same room. They couldn't be like at the same store. One of them would have to leave.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I don't think most of those cases end well anyway. And I think it's so hard when there's children involved in those cases as well.
Here's a good question for you, Nicole. Do you think
Does Nicole have stats?
do you have any stats for do you think that a certain race has it worse than others?
I don't have that stat. Can
Here,
we maybe
let me
Google it?
let me pull it up real quick.
That's a very good question.
That's a great
That's a
question.
really great question. I didn't see any stats on that. But there was so much information,
Domestic violence per race.
and I wanted the most accurate too. And you never know, like, with stats, because they're constantly changing. Thank you guys for all being here and supporting us. Podcast takeover.
Podcast takeover with Nicole and Jenn.
Yes. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being here for Joe as well. This is ultimately, it's Joe's podcast, guys. So thank you guys for supporting. Make sure you guys hit that sub button.
Okay, so I have pulled up the statistics.
Okay.
This is just a quick research. I haven't, got to really like get down into it, but of police reported domestic violence in non-Hispanic African American communities, reported violence is 46.2% of women. Non-Hispanic or white women report about 16.2% of domestic violences. So I'm going to say, just from this rough draft that I've looked at, yes, race does play a factor in domestic violence, unfortunately.
The white has it worse, right?
Huh?
The white has it worse.
No.
No?
Black women between the ages of 25 and 34 experience the most at 46.2% of the police reported. Now, there's also 41.7% of Black women who do not report. And there's 36.2% of white women who do not report. So that was just something real quick that I pulled up. If anybody would like me to go any deeper into that, I can definitely do some more research.
Okay, I was gonna go a little bit into like how our mental health is impacted by DV.
Absolutely.
All right, so mental health conditions that sometimes people get after experiencing DV at some point in their life. They sometimes will end up having anxiety for the rest of their life, or depression. So those are big two mental health conditions. I'm not going to go too deep into mental health because we'll probably have a day like actually when we go deeper into that. But then also another thing is with mental health or with DV, there's persistent fear. There's stress and isolation that accompany domestic violence can erode an individual's self-esteem, their confidence, leading to feelings and feeling worthless, hopeless, sad all the time. Victims also may experience difficulties in forming and maintaining relationships, like after having a DV experience. You might not be able to trust a partner again. And you're constantly, in and out of relationships, or you're never in a relationship, or, whatever.
Okay,
Trust issues
one second.
and distorted sense of self.
I'm gonna just 1 second. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Morton, just another rough statistic. I did look that up. While 10 to 18% of people who commit domestic violence are arrested again within 6 months of committing their first domestic violence act.
Yeah, this year alone, I think my friend's boyfriend has been arrested 4 times just this year.
15 to 30% face a second arrest within approximately 2 years, and up to 60% of domestic violence aggressors are rearrested within 10 years. So the statistics are very high for someone that does the domestic violence and it becoming a reappear.
Yeah.
I can do that real quick for you, Chris. Go ahead, Nicole. You can talk
Okay,
about.
and then this is just a little bit about like what you can do like after you experience DV. There's accessible mental health in the U.S. to provide comprehensive support and resources to survivors. So you can go to any mental health institute and they will help you in DV situations. There's a sensible mental care, trauma informed care. So like there's trauma care as well. So some people are really traumatized after they experience DV. So there's trauma centers. Also specialized interventions that can help. Survivors heal from psychological effects of DV, and then they can rebuild their lives, regain a sense of safety, self-worth, and emotional well-being. Oh no, Chris, that's a good one. Jen will have to look that one up. I just did a generalized statistic of DV. I should have went a little bit deeper. But we can get those for you.
Okay. So from what there's at the baseline of the incident with your intimate partner, violence rates, they are the highest in the poorest communities. 13.8 women per 1,000 in lowest income quarterlies are a subject of domestic violence. So absolutely lower income does affect the statistics on domestic violence rates as well.
How many get the help for DV and end up in the same situation after help? You want to look that? I don't have that statistic either. I pretty much went over the notes, and we can just, if anyone has any questions or wants to talk, then we can talk or look up more statistics for you. Thank you for looking up, Jen. I don't have another device.
Oh no, you're perfectly fine. Yeah, you just keep going while I'm looking up.
Well, we've hit all my notes.
Oh, we did it? All right.
Does anyone have any questions for me? I'll just keep talking. But yeah, DV is a very serious situation, guys. And if you know someone that's experiencing it, you should definitely let someone know. Or if you have experienced DV and if you need some help, there's help out there for you. There's charities, organizations, all the things. And if you think you're the only one, you're not. There's many people out there. Don't feel ashamed. Speak up. Yeah, guys, the questions are great. Amazing. Thank you guys for being here.
About 30 to 45% of women or men that experience domestic violence will repeat the cycle.
Wow.
Unfortunately, that is a terribly high number.
Yeah, I mean, you already know every minute 32 women are being abused. It's crazy. It's just so sad.
The majority that get arrested do reoffend, Morton. Usually within 6 months.
Yeah, and you know what? Is there different levels of like, or is that not really important? The like being charged with, or is it just DV, or is it like a different name or level?
There's different levels, and there are
Okay.
different charges, different things. A lot of times, here's not a fun statistic. Here's a learning statistic. Out of every 10 domestic violence cases that are reported to the police and then require a court date coming up, 6 of those 10 women will not show up and face their aggressor to pursue charges.
Wow. What is this?
So that's
DV arrest that actually turn into a big
60% of women who actually had the guts to say, okay, I'm going to call. And then when it came down to it, 60% of them said, I'm just going to let it go. And those are the ones that usually take the aggressor back immediately.
And then they say it takes seven times for a woman to leave, but she said that sometimes it's even more than that. But overall, I saw that it said something about 7 times.
Yes.
And then, guys, always remember the 3 R's of domestic violence: recognize, respond, and refer. The 3 R's: recognize, respond, and refer. Guys, make sure you remember those red flags in relationships: the controlling behavior, the lack of respect, love bombing, emotional and physical abuse. So if you're experiencing those, it's time to go.
Chris, the overall conviction rate is 87% for prosecuted domestic violence, aggravated assault, because those are the 2 big ones that come with domestic violence, is domestic violence with aggravated assault. 87% of those are prosecuted for their actions. Now, there is about 12% that can get their charges reduced.
And reduce, what do you mean? Like down to a misdemeanor or something? Or
Yeah, instead of the aggravated assault, like maybe a disorderly conduct or
they don't have to serve time,
nuisance
they
in
just do
public, or
probation.
yeah.
Wow, isn't that crazy? A man or a woman is abusing and they get probation. Come on.
Yeah.
But I like that it's 87. I mean, that's a step up.
It is.
It
And
is. I mean, that's
yes.
almost 90, and but what about that 13%? That's just that's crazy too.
Correct.
It's sad for that 13%. Thank you, guys. Does anyone have any other questions or stats you guys want us to look up? I pretty much have hit all my keynotes.
I agree. I think we really, I think we did a great takeover.
I think we did good on Tuesday takeover the Jello Bowl page. Let's go. Or podcast.
Everybody, if you are not subscribed to Joe the Bull Guy podcast, please hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. We're live Monday through Friday, and we cover all kinds of topics. There's an email that is scrolling across the bottom of your screen, guys. You can send your questions, comments, suggestions to that email. We would love to hear from you guys.
You can also comment on the video below, or you can also, go to Joe the Bull's page as well and message him. Yeah, but email.
The questions you can email to Joe the Bull Guy podcast at gmail.com.
Great job, ladies.
Thanks.
I do want to thank everyone who did come in and watch tonight. Like Nicole and I both said at the beginning of this is a very sensitive subject. So I thank all you guys for being positive in the chat and no negativity. And like I said, if you know someone that's going through it, try to talk to them. Try to be that safe place, but don't try to push yourself, guys. We can't do that. But reach out to any of us. We would love to answer any of your questions and concerns. And I hope that everyone has a blessed and wonderful night.
Good night.